guys, welcome back to my channel. So today is another chatty video. I basically, for the past couple of months I've got some questions here and there, occasionally. Usually they come up in the comment section about how I've learned English, how long it took me to learn English, and all this sort of things, and that basically goes around the language. Can I give any advice to those who are coming to America from a foreign country and who actually wants to learn and have difficulties? So I thought it would be nice to actually sit down and do this video, and I hope for those who are looking for answers this video will be helpful. So let's do it. Just for the record, I did a video talking about how I came to America, kind of give you a little bit of the background story. So I'm just gonna link it somewhere here and hopefully in the description box, so you can go ahead and check this out. I'm not gonna repeat myself, but long story short, I basically came here as a student. I did start my university or conservatory studies in Warsaw, which is Poland. That's where I'm coming from. And I basically wanted to continue my, degree in here in America. So it was not easy, okay? Basically, when I arrived, before I could even legally enrolled in the university studies, I had to have a TOEFL exam. TOEFL is a test of English as a foreign language. So if you come from a country that English is not your first language, you have to take a TOEFL before you can study, either do your, undergrad or grad school, whatever, or your doctor degree. You have to pass TOEFL. So that exam to me was extremely difficult, considering the fact that when I came, my English skills from the scales of 0 to 10 was 10 being the best, was probably 0.5. So basically nothing. I did not understand anything. I could not speak. There was a few words that I basically knew. Hello, goodbye, good night, yes, no, that's basically it. So I never learned English in Poland. I did try to take some of afternoon courses, in preparation for the TOEFL, but I knew I was not going anywhere with that. It was just so difficult. Now we talking about 1998. There was no internet like YouTube that I could just sit and watch people, or in Poland I couldn't access any English speaking channels, either from England or American. No, I mean, you could not get those. So the reality was completely different than these days. So basically when I arrived, I think it was 1998, I decided to enroll for a semester, basically take a TOEFL, a preparation, which was held at the university which I was planning to attend. So I obtained a student visa and basically attended a very strict, it was every day for a couple of hours course, to learn English. This course was, I don't want to say it was completely baloney, but because it did help a little bit, but it was still, I was nowhere even close to know the English. It was still very difficult for me. So I realized very quickly that if I want to learn English, meaning how to speak, how to understand, I need to disattach myself from the Polish community. By that time I lived in New York City and I lived with the Christina. I still owe you the story of the Christina, and of course she was Polish, and yes, I was in America, but I was still kind of attached to the Polish roots. So basically I had to make some drastic changes. I ended up attending 2 semesters, taking that course for 2 semesters, because I was nowhere near to pass, you know, the TOEFL scores, and I basically did my best to find myself in fully American environment. So what I mean by that, living with American people who could not speak any Polish whatsoever. This way it literally forced me to communicate the best I could at that time. And you know, and I'm sure I was really bad. Not that I'm really good right now, but I kind of remember a couple of funny stories. But there was many things that I did not understand what they were saying. They probably couldn't understand what I was saying or what I meant, and somehow it all worked out. The next thing what I did, I made friends with international students. So we were forced to speak, you know, English, because again, none of us, you know, we all spoke different languages. So the mutual language that we could actually try to communicate was English. Another thing what I did, which was extremely helpful, was to watch a lot of American TV. The sitcom that I completely fell in love was the Seinfeld. Oh my god, this was hilarious. But you know, honestly guys, not from the very beginning. It took me probably a few months to suddenly start understanding the jokes, you know, and their quick conversation, you know, because sometimes you just have to, it's you know, it's funny, but you need to understand what is, you know, what is happening. So watching a lot of TV, even like a simple news, you know, it was challenging if you don't understand what they are saying. So basically this, what I think it helped me to learn as much as I, you know, as I possibly could. Like I mentioned, there was no really YouTube, you know, that you could go and watch your favorite YouTubers and, you know, do this and that. It was just all kind of starting, and there was no even like internet, like a Google Translate. There was no Google Translate. How can I, you know, translate something if it's not existing? So what I did also at the evenings, I was basically reading a dictionary. This was like my evening, you know, for 10-15 minutes. I just opened the English-Polish dictionary on any random page, and I was just reading the words and trying to remember what they mean, and, you know, basically work on my vocab. So that was another thing that I did. And that little dictionary, which I have somewhere to this day, I basically carry with me throughout my bachelor's, throughout my graduate school, and on and on and on, because there was just no Google Translate. There was no iPhones. There was no iPhones. Now I'm gonna sound like I'm very old, because I am very old. So there was no iPhones. The first iPhone came up in 2007, and I finished my graduate school in 2003. So I had a Nokia phone, I had a flip phone, you know. There was just no quick text me and other things. That just was not existing. So that's basically what helped me, you know, to learn. And obviously after those 2 semesters of those intense TOEFL kind of preparation, ESL courses, whatever you want to call it, I finally passed my English exam, which was the TOEFL. I was extremely happy. So, you know, I obviously then I could apply to the university, and it was successful. I was very happy. But guys, you gotta trust me if I tell you, my maybe abilities of understanding and speaking went from, okay, it was 0.5 in the beginning, maybe I was between 3 and 4 at that time. So I still had a very long way to go. I still think I have a very long way to go. I don't think my English is perfect, and it probably will never be. and I'm sorry if I sometimes if I say something silly or if I mispronounce something. I really apologize, but you know, it is what it is. I was 22 years old when I came, so obviously I grew up in Poland. I grew up listening to different language, so it's very difficult for someone who is already, you know, that much older to actually start from nothing. Someone told me that if you notice that you're thinking in English rather than your native language, it means you're already getting really, really good. And that happened to me probably sometimes in graduate school, or maybe even after that, when I noticed one day that I'm thinking in English rather than Polish. And that's true. You know, I agree completely. I mean, to this day, most of the time I think in English rather than Polish. I know it's very funny, but you know, that's the truth. You know, my husband is also from Poland, so thankfully we speak also Polish, we speak English, we mix languages. My both children were born in here, so obviously they are speaking very well with no accents, and they do correct me, and I want them to correct me. I just told them, just don't make fun of me, just be nice. So yeah, but going back to the school, once I entered the university, I was still extremely lost. It probably took me, yeah, not until I graduated that I started to feel more and more comfortable with the language. And like I mentioned, I'm still learning, I'm still making mistakes, and I most likely will be for the rest of my life. But I understand how difficult it is. Even though English is not the most difficult language, it can be difficult for some, you know, people. I think for me, the whole pronunciation part of it, I think it's easier because I'm a musician, so I have very kind of sensitive ear to sounds, and I feel like many times I can maybe pronounce something better than, let's say, other foreign people. But generally speaking, I think learning English for, you know, for anybody or any foreign language would be difficult. So I basically think that the most difficult is to learn how to speak, how to understand quickly, how to carry on the conversation. And this you can only learn really having interaction with someone, you know, who speaks, in my case, fluent English. So it was not easy. And if you are just starting to learn any foreign language, it's not going to be easy. But if you give yourself a goal, and if this is something that you really want to do, and you know, in my situation, I have no choice because I really wanted to study in here. I wanted, you know, to pursue my career later on. And I knew if I don't learn the language, if I don't pass that proficiency exam, there's just no way I can, you know, study in here. There's no way I can get my diplomas. And yeah, but just keep in mind, just because you pass TOEFL doesn't mean that you can easy carry on with your daily student tasks, because like I said, for me it just took me few good years to really feel comfortable. I feel like my first year as a, you know, when I did my bachelor as a student, it's like a blur. I don't remember much. There was two things that I remember that has, you know, to do with the language. It was, I had to take English literature class, which killed me, and I mean it. The lady that was teaching the class, she was an Oxford graduate, and she was all about the Shakespeare and British English and all that stuff. And to me, someone who barely can understand and speak basic English, reading Shakespeare was like a suicide, you know? And just the fact that I didn't have, you know, like these days, you have the internet, you have all this access that you can help yourself with the studies. I didn't have that. it was so difficult because my little dictionary did not had all those British, all English words that, you know, I was trying to understand. So I suffered a big time during that class, and that lady hated me. I mean, literally, she hated me. Just to give you an example, it was about maybe 40 or 50 of us that started the class, and by the end of semester, I think only 25 really made it to the end. People were dropping one by one because she was the most horrible teacher, you know. And it's ironically, I was thinking to myself, and she was probably in her early 30s back then, and I was thinking to myself, if I ever will be teaching, I will never ever treat my student the way she treated us. And the way she hated me, it was because I could not understand. But at the same time, I could not afford to drop the class. I was so determined to continue that I was not gonna quit, and I did everything to pass the course, and I did. So but she was awful, awful. The other accident, on the other hand, a very nice class that I had, which was extremely difficult. It was the freshman composition class. I basically was forced to, I mean forced, that was the idea of the class, to write an essay every single week. You know, there was a certain topics, and then at the end of semester we had to write, I think it was like 10 or 15 page paper, which was, that was like blowing my mind, because how am I going to do it? So even producing those little papers along the way, it was so difficult for me. It was, I remember staying in that computer lab, because I didn't even have my own computer, for hours and hours and hours with my little dictionary and my little book with all the, you know, making sure that I don't make any grammar mistakes. And it just took me so long to write a one-page paper, because I was just so paranoid of making any mistakes, that yeah, it just cost me a lot of work. But then this big paper at the end of the semester, which we had to write, just gave me the biggest anxiety you can ever imagine. And I wrote the paper, I finished the paper, I gave it to her, and then the very last class that we had, she was basically passing all the papers and telling everybody what grade they got. So I'm sitting there thinking to myself that this is probably nothing good. I didn't really think I did good on that paper. So as she was passing all the papers, you know, to the students, she would never call my name. It was probably about 20 of us in that classroom, something like that. It was a small class. So basically she handed out all the 19 papers, and my paper was as the very last one. So I'm thinking to myself, the last one is usually the worst one. And I was so wrong. She kept my paper as the last one because she said this was the best paper in the entire class. And as soon as she said that, everybody just looked at me like, are you kidding me? She's not even American. She can barely speak any English, and she wrote the best paper. And she was so proud of me that she asked me if she could read this paper to the entire class. And I think my face at that moment just turned all red. But what was I supposed to say? No? Of course I said yes. And she read this entire paper, and she was so proud of me. I got an A+, and I was shocked. I mean, literally, you guys, I was shocked. And I think I have that paper somewhere because I couldn't throw it away. This paper was like a big milestone for me in learning the language, because at this moment you feel like, oh my god, maybe I can do it. So basically I was very, very happy, and that gave me a big boost of confidence. Throughout the years as I study, I realized that you know, I can understand more and more and more people. You know, I lived in New Jersey. There was like a mix of many different, you know, nationalities and people with different backgrounds, people with different accents, and some of them would even use some slang words which I completely didn't know what they were talking about. So as I got better and better and better and stayed there longer, I could understand more. And to me, another like epiphany moment was when I finally went to the post office. I was visiting post office quite often because I was buying those phone cards over there that I could call my parents. So I basically visit the post office at least once a week, and I could never understand the post office workers. So the epiphany moment was when I suddenly started understand what they're mumbling. And trust me, it wasn't talking, they were mumbling. So I thought to myself, you know, if I can understand the mumbling, I think I'm getting really, really good. So, you know, you just live and you just learn. Let's put it this way. America is so big. There's so many different accents. There's so many different backgrounds of people, and that is just impossible to know it all. And I'm sure I still don't know it. Many of them. So you just have to be patient, and you have to, you know, just do your best, because you will be frustrated along the way. And you know, sometimes you just think to yourself, why am I doing this? But you know, it's been what, over 20 years now like I'm in here. And yeah, I mean, America is my second country. I've got my American citizenship now, so obviously at the exam I had to also show, you know, the ability of speaking, reading and writing in English. So yeah, that could be another video of how to pass my citizenship exam. But anyway, yeah, that's pretty much it. I hope I didn't miss anything, but yeah. And I hope you guys find this video interesting, you know, and helpful. And at the same time, I know most of my audience is from US, so obviously that probably wouldn't be much of an interest to you, this video. But you know, I mean, that just gives you a little bit more of a background of, you know, where I came from, who I am, and you know, all that jazz. So anyway, yeah, if you have any questions, please let me know. And if you'd like to subscribe, please do. Make sure you click on the notification bell as well. And if you have any suggestions for this kind of videos, if you want me to you know, tell a little bit of my story, I'll be happy to do it. So yeah, let me know. I'll talk to you soon. Bye.